Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back for more Hearthstone in overtime. Let's do this. Hunter and Mage, ranked runs. We've got to get 4 victories. Start off with the Hunter and jump into a game. We have 190 gold. We want a little bit more. If I can get, let's see, I'll get 50. I think I'm willing to buy an extra pack at the end of this. Plus, for the past 2 episodes, I have promised something and forgotten to do it. Crazy Bird, love you, Crazy Bird. Talk about sweet way to start a recording. Alright, so I've been promising to try and find the diametrically opposed characters. Alright, so Warlock summons demons, and Priest is supposed to be a holy healer, so I could see how those two are diametrically opposed. Hunter uses animals to hunt and kill. Druid uses animals to protect animals. So those two are diametrically opposed. Let's see. The Rogue uses backstab techniques and poisons and such, where the Paladin uses infantry and frontal attacks. That kind of makes sense. We don't have even numbers here though, so this can't possibly be. Shaman uses magics to summon creatures, while Mage uses magics to deal damage. So I'd say Shaman and Mage. But then you've got the Warrior here, and then the Warrior might be opposed to the Paladin, but really, if you look at the abilities, the Warrior and the Hunter are about the same. Then you have Druid wouldn't match. So there we go. Because it's 9 characters, you cannot divide 9 evenly by the number 2. So right there, that thought was out the window. I am dumb. D-U-M-B dumb. Hunter and Mage is what we're doing. We just got 1 victory and then wasted some time doing stupid things. It's kind of dumb to even be playing as Mage. I mean, I really should just be playing as Hunter. Yeah, what am I doing? There's no reason to play as Mage. What am I gonna do, get 500 wins? We'll do that in our own time some other time. Let's level up the Hunter. So instead of doing Hunter and Mage things, let's just stick with Hunter. Yeah, all Hunter, all today. Until Hunter's up to level 62, we've got more progress that we can make with him than we can with the Mage. The only thing we can do with the Mage is get 200 more victories. About 206, I think, was the number there. And that is going to take forever and not really matter. All it's going to do is get us a gold version of the Mage.
Rexa versus Valir.
Watch your back.
BOSTXN. What is that? You're a boss Texan? You're from Boston and Texas? How'd you pull that one off? I get it. You were born in Boston, but you got a heart transplant in Texas, so you were reborn in Texas. So you're a boss Texan. Probably the only one. I'm willing to buy that story. That story I just made up in my silly little head. Job's done. Overtime. Overtime. I don't know why people think overtime is really good or fun. I mean, if the game, I suppose in a lot of sports, if you're going to get to overtime, it's because both sides are playing exceptionally well, doing a tit for tat. Which, by the way, I looked up the definition, the etymology of where that phrase came from. And it's just an old English, this for that, style of fencing. So, was definitely not what I thought it was, but that's what I said, is that it probably isn't what I think it stands for. But yes, I suppose in games, if both teams are playing pretty well, it'll just be tit for tat for the whole time duration, and then overtime would still be the build up, the exciting conclusion to a great game. I guess I could see that, yeah.
Handle it! I don't have enough mana.
Oh, I screwed that up. Screwed that up. Well, alright. But in this example of overtime, all overtime for us really means is that we could not get our goals done in the time allotted, and so now we have to work even longer and a little bit harder. So nobody should be happy about us being in overtime, but I'm still gonna hype it up like it's a good thing. Why not? I want to be the king of hype, if I can be. Alright, let's see. Hunt alone, I hear.
Well played.
I think so. Try not to kill my zombie chow guy. Don't want to give him a 5 extra health. Make him work for it at least. So these guys are pretty good, but you could only have 2 at most.
I hunt alone.
Good, keep hunting alone. I can't understand hunting just for the amount of time it takes. It really seems like people that go hunting want to just avoid all of the rest of society for a good 12 hours every time they do it. It's just sitting around doing nothing. I need a card to work with this. There we go. So we throw him out. Throw him
My
out.
shield for Argus.
Throw this guy out.
Job done.
Oh, I guess it's a little pointless to talk about TV since these episodes will come out so late from when they were recorded, but might as well. Why not? Gotta talk about something. So I watched the
So many
first
options.
episode on Sci-Fi of 12 Monkeys, and I have to give them congratulations on doing the very important thing that needs to be done when doing a time travel type show. You have to absolutely explain how time travel is going to work in that series. And they certainly did that. They had him within like the first 10 minutes just disappear to show that that's how he travels through time. He just disappears. He doesn't like leave clothing on the ground or dissolve into a puddle or anything like that. They showed immediately that if he changed something in the past, the entire area would start earthquake-like shaking, and that whatever he changed in the past would very quickly be reflected in the future. So we know how that works, and it showed that if two objects, one from the past and one from the future, came in contact, it would create a paradox where time would slow down and it would shake. And for some reason, this guy in particular was not as affected by the paradoxes as everybody else. So it was a way for him to slow down time and escape a situation. So they did a great job in just explaining the time travel rules, how it's going to do it. I thought for a second in the first episode they might keep him in our present day of 2015 and then not, and have like an entire season of him trying to accomplish something, and then at the end of the season he'd go back to the future and find out whether he succeeded or not. But instead they immediately on the first run had him move back to the past, back to the future, and find out he still had more work to do. So seems like they're going to be pretty flexible. What does this have to do with the 12 Monkeys movie? Nothing really. It's the same basic concept, but I would not be surprised if they just for the first season follow the basic concept, and then on the second, and if they get a second and third season, they just change everything around, and then there's a whole different reason why the future is messed up, and a whole different reason why he has to go back in the past and investigate it and try and correct it. That would not surprise me 1 second if that's what they would do, because when you have a TV series based on a movie that everybody's seen, you're gonna have to eventually really make a clean break from that. They are explaining things a little differently. Things I think are gonna more and more with each episode become less like the movie. I think they made some great efforts here in the first episode, and it has slightly given me renewed hope in Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi has gotten a new person in charge who has publicly stated he's going to try and do actual sci-fi shows again and not just Sharknado garbage, and this new season seems to really be an effort for that. They also brought back Helix. Helix ended a little weird, and I wasn't sure it was ever going to come back even.
Ready for action!
But they've done something different. There's a whole new disease they're investigating. So I even have hope there that something's going to come about from that.
Hit it very hard.
So, 2 sci-fi shows look interesting. They did a little commercial in it showing several new shows I hadn't even heard of. And from what I could tell, when I paused it, I looked at the font of a lot of these shows, and the font had been added in after the fact. So there was some question as to whether those shows were even going to air this season. And I think they pushed them forward. Hopefully that pays off and that doesn't turn out to be a mistake. That they've potentially pushed forward shows just so they can have a better lineup and a more interesting lineup. So I'm starting to have a little bit of hope for sci-fi, which you know I shouldn't have any hope for sci-fi. You know that that they have done us wrong. All sci-fi fans, they've been doing us wrong for at least a decade plus now, and we should not listen to anything they say. They are going to come back with Wizard Wars, which is on Sci-Fi Channel. It's not really that sci-fi. It's just teams of magicians competing against each other. So, for what that's worth, I want to see that. I enjoyed it, and it's quite fun to watch magicians with a DVR because you can pause it and go frame by frame. And I tell you, half the time when they do a trick, the cameramen don't catch it, whether they intentionally don't catch it or they do. They intentionally do catch it. I can't really speak to that, but it is really funny that
You to master.
now I don't think I've had Stalag die yet. So, but it's fun to try and see what they did and how well they did it. And it's not really that killing of the surprise. I mean, if you want to believe that the magicians are actually doing magic, yes, it will dissuade you of that delusion. But if you want to see very skilled people who are using some very unique and singular technologies to pull off things that you wouldn't think are possible, and yeah, I mean it's amazing to go frame by frame and go, oh, that's how they did it, and how much skill and how much practice it takes. A lot of it does take a lot of skill and practice to pull off tricks, to make sure that people are looking one way when they, if they were looking the other way, they would see the trick completely. But yeah, so Wizard Wars, I'm excited about that coming back. They came back with Constantine, and so basically this is the weekend where everything came back from the Christmas break. And Constantine ended everything in a bad fashion, really. Just bad fashion. That yeah, I don't know how any other way to say it. Because they split the series and they only have like 3 more episodes if it doesn't get picked up, and I don't really feel like it is gonna get picked up, and I don't really even feel like it should get picked up. I mean, I am not a great fan of Constantine comics. I have not read any of the Constantine that was, from what I hear, the good comics of Constantine before he was integrated into the DC universe. All I've read is the new DC stuff, and he's a fine character, just like DC has multiple other fine characters, but there's nothing that special about him from what I see. And there was nothing that attention grabbing uh, in the TV show. It felt like it was trying to be a supernatural. They most certainly were putting episodes out of order, which does not help anything. Do not ever do that. I don't know why the TV producers think they can pull that garbage off. It's never gonna work. It's just never gonna work. But alright.
For
So,
master.
yeah, there's a lot of problems going on with Constantine, and I just don't feel like they're gonna solve them.
Hit it very hard.
See, I just don't see this working. Yeah, Death Rattle was pointless.
Quickly.
Yep. He's got 14 damage on the board. I don't see why he shouldn't win. Survival. Grim came back. It too was ended at a cliffhanger, and then this episode also ended in a cliffhanger, and oh, I just don't know. I just don't. I've long ago lost interest in Grim. The concept of creating a new series and having new ways of showing monsters and having new monsters is great. It was very heavy into Germanic, like, names of Grimm fairy tales and such that didn't make a lot of sense why they were doing things like that. So instead of just calling a guy a wolfman, they were calling him a blute bot, which, I mean, you're just being silly. He still looked like pretty much looked like a wolfman to me. And so the whole thing just got
The might of Stormwind.
is more and more ridiculous, very fast. So I quickly lost interest. What else have I seen on TV? Sleepy Hollow came back, not today or yesterday, but in my time, but a couple of weeks ago, and Sleepy Hollow was going in a very strange direction in its previous season, and it just went an even stranger direction with the new episode, and I'm like,
Handle it.
they got really far from their original concept. The original concept was Sleepy Hollow was going to be attacked by a monster of the week, and they were going to be dealing with the Headless Horseman. And very quickly, it wasn't, oh, he's not just the Headless Horseman, he is the Horseman of Death, and the apocalypse is coming. Oh, and by the way, here's the second Horseman. Oh, and by the way, we're not going to show you the third Horseman yet, but, I mean... So it very quickly became about the Horsemen, and then it became about defeating one very specific demon for all of the second season with no really monster of the week, which is too fast to be doing that. You can't do like one season of monster of the week and then you want to do 2 or 3 seasons with the bad guy's not that big of a bad guy. and when it comes to the apocalypse, you can't get much bigger fight. And so it just went too fast. They added new characters to be like love interests for secondary characters, and it's all very strange in that fashion. Let's add this good-looking guy so he can be the love interest for the sister of the main actress. The sister who really is supposed to just pop up every now and then. In general, they've added far too many characters to Sleepy Hollow. And they're not fleshing them out enough. They're not doing enough with them. Let's see, what else? What are some other shows? Don't watch a ton of TV after listing all these TV shows I just watched. But I guess that's what everybody says, right? I don't watch a ton of TV. Here, just these 12 hours a week of TV, and that's it. But, oh yeah, Silence My Own Guy. That'll work. But yeah, I don't feel like I watch a lot of it. Just a few things, and they are all heavily sci-fi shows. And I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, because every single season it's just disappointment after disappointment. I think I enjoy disappointing myself. I mean, on rare occasion you get a good one, but it has been a good long time since we've had a good show. We had oh, I can't even remember the name of the show. We had one on Fox that the first season was good. It was kind of like a remake of X-Files, which, by the way, the Gillian Anderson of X-Files jokingly is trying to bring it back. So if anybody wants to hashtag whatever the hashtag is to bring back X-Files, that might be funny. Why not? I don't think X-Files was even that good of a series. I think it had a good collection of good episodes mixed in with a collection of bad episodes. But there was this, what's the name of that show? I cannot remember. What it quickly became was there was two dimensions, and like one dimension was fighting the other dimension, and that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool for the first season. But once the second dimension came in, and it just became all about the dimensions fighting each other, it really lost some of its appeal.
This is our time, scrub. Yeah, beat it.
So I wouldn't really call that the greatest thing. I really haven't sat through Firefly to say Firefly was a great show or not. I'll bow to other people's opinions there and say lots of other people say it was a good show, but then it only went like at most 13 episodes, so okay. I mean, it's great if you can do 13 good episodes. I kind of have a problem with Firefly in the fact that they just didn't answer the questions they set up for. And that's what sucks about a show getting canceled. And it's not really their fault, but it's still a problem when you have a show that you set up all these questions and you want those answered, and they don't get answered. But yeah, I don't know a really great sci-fi show in decades. I mean, the one that was just fun and good all the way throughout. I don't know if there ever was one. I mean, like I've said before, Babylon 5 is my favorite show, so, and not all those episodes were good, and let's not kid ourselves. There's no way that all those episodes were good. most of them were, but not all of them. And Star Trek, the original series, is is no full of bad episodes. Star Trek Next Generation, full of bad episodes. I mean, and people say that's a great TV series, and I guess that's the problem with sci-fi in general is that people are getting and willing to accept just tons of bad episodes. I guess that's the problem with TV in general, though, because any TV series, it seems very much like they that there's a large amount of bad episodes in it. One of the shows I'm watching, still watching, is The Librarians, which,
You asked for it.
Let the
if they
hunt
keep
begin.
working, I could see it becoming a good show. So I'm sticking with it, giving it a chance, but right now it's not really. I don't know if it, being a TBS or TNT, I think it's TNT show, I'm not sure if they're ever going to get the budget to get better writing. They are moving way too fast and having the characters that basically just met each other being really familiar with each other way too fast instead of having just an awkward breaking in period. Where Librarians is basically Warehouse 13, except for instead of magical objects, it's just magic in general. Yeah, Warehouse 13 was a pretty good show. I enjoyed that. I think it probably was one of the most recent good sci-fi show would have been Warehouse 13. Eureka was fun too, but Eureka very much fell into a trap of its own making by saying everything was going to be based on science and then having to create this pseudo fake science to explain all these weird occurrences the writers wanted to do. And a lot of the original first season of Eureka was just Star Trek stories being retold, which is fine. If you just want to steal from the greats, I really can't blame you too much for doing that. So yeah, Eureka, Warehouse 13, some good sci-fi. Those were both sci-fi shows, but then Sci-Fi would have those two good shows and then threaten to cancel them all the time and then put them in bad time slots, and thankfully I had the DVR so I could actually see them. But they really weren't supporting them, and you can definitely see that in Eureka, which was kind of just ended with a whimper, and Warehouse 13 didn't really wrap up as well as it should have either. I mean, there was supposed to be some more things revealed in that just never got revealed. Stargate. Let's talk about Stargate. There's a show that they put way too much support behind. I mean, Stargate, when Sci-Fi took it over from Stars, just put all their money in it, and it apparently paid off because it just turned out to be a real moneymaker somehow. I guess the people worked for cheap or something like that. Because, yeah, it went on forever. You had Stargate, SG-1, and then you had, let's make another one, let's call it Stargate Atlantis, and then it was like, make another one, and it was called Stargate something else, I don't even remember. And so there was at least 3 TV shows that they decided to make, all on Stargates, which, I mean, talking about an attempt to just franchise it, just make a franchise out of the whole thing. The general concept of Stargate is fine in that it gets past the problem of having to fly in the ship from point to point. So there's no real problem with that. But they got so wrapped into their own mythology that they couldn't really do anything new. Plus they had just done so many episodes that I'm you can be certain that one Stargate episode out there is exactly like another one, because they just redid it. But, but yeah, they put way too much support. I don't mind if they wanted to do SG-1 forever. I don't mind if they wanted to change SG-1 into Atlantis. But I think for a time they were doing SG-1 and Atlantis, and maybe they were doing the third one at the same time too for a short period. But they just kept wanting to do more and more and more, and it's just silly. Oh, let's talk about Farscape. Yeah, Farscape was a great series. It was prematurely ended, and then they came back and did a kind of a lesser budget than they really needed to wrap it up. Sci-Fi, it was on Sci-Fi again, and yet again Sci-Fi threatened to screw every fan over by... They did this for like all their shows too. This is more reason why you should not ever trust Sci-Fi. New guy in charge or not. But they just abruptly canceled Farscape, where they killed the two main characters, just straight up killed them, and that was gonna be the end. Like in the last 5 seconds, we're gonna kill them, and that's how we're gonna end the show. And people just revolted, if I recall correctly, and demanded a better ending, and so they came back and did a little bit of a better ending, which is alright. I think they made a movie that kind of wrapped it up a little bit better. But I mean, that's the main problem with shows. Have the ending, have enough budget left before you cancel anything, so that the ending can still be made and still be good. Particularly in this new world we live in of DVDs and Blu-rays. If you're not gonna end things correctly, if you're just gonna throw out garbage, a garbage ending, then you're gonna suffer for it when you turn around and try and sell.
Minion a turn to get red hunter low.
And try to sell that thing, because people will, a lot of people will at least, do the research and go, this just abruptly ends, I don't want to buy that box set. So give them a good quality ending, wrap it up right, if you're gonna do it. If you're gonna cancel a series, give them at least 3 episodes where they can write an ending and do it right. Don't say the series is canceled after the last episode has already been filmed, which Sci-Fi has done, I'm sure,
I hope you like
and
my
other
emotion.
channels have definitely done. But I mean, that's just ridiculous. You can't just say the ending of the season is a good enough ending to end the series. It's never that way. The writers don't write it that way. They don't intend for that to end like that.
Minions, servants, soldiers of the cold dark. Obey the of Kill.
So, let's see. Yeah, my pain of being a sci-fi fan, and it's in particular sci-fi shows. Soap operas, exact opposite. You can love a soap opera and still be watching it for decades later. NCIS, CSI, any of those type shows, you can watch those things forever, and they never seem to get canceled. They never really even seem to have that interconnecting of a storyline. But sci-fi shows, and I guess the truth is there's just less sci-fi fans, and yet we have to all admit it to ourselves, is that people don't relate as easily to sci-fi,
Out on me.
and people don't understand it as easily. So we all have to admit that to ourselves and live with that fact. Alright, so let's put this guy out. Let's put this guy out. Play this.
You win.
Interesting. Was he only, did he only have 6 lives left? Was that the case? So we need 2 more victories. But I mean, it's just a shame. That's why sci-fi movies, at least, you can get a complete story in them. If you go watch a science fiction movie, they're gonna do their best to make it all in one story, and they don't have to worry about being canceled. They don't have to worry about trying to make a sequel, although everybody these days do try to make a sequel. That's what slightly interests me in watching this new Wachowski siblings movie, Jupiter Ascending, I believe is what it's called. It is going to come out sometime this year. It looks visually very stunning. It looks like it might be a good and interesting show. I'm not holding my breath, but maybe. Maybe, just maybe. Done. I've seen lots of non-Hollywood sci-fi movies that are great. Let's see. I saw one called Mr. Nobody, which was pretty interesting. It's more fantasy than sci-fi anyways, but it's a pretty interesting tale. What sci-fi movies have I watched recently?
What's the flight plan?
Can't think of many. I haven't been watching a ton of movies lately. See, you know, I have the Netflix subscription, but I barely use it. I mean, I can go 2, 3, 4 months without watching anything on it, which is a shame. But really, I think it's worth it just to not waste time. I'm not gonna go force myself to watch something. Huh? What's he gonna do now? I guess he's not gonna do anything. But
Handle it!
I guess it would have been better to play this guy, but that's alright.
Job's done.
Oh, I watched that movie with the railroad. What was it called? Something Chaser. Not Steam Chaser. Snowpiercer. It was called Snowpiercer. Yeah. I watched that, and that was a slightly interesting show. I mean, I don't think it deserved all the critical acclaim it got, but it was at least interesting.
My shield for Arga.
Hit it very hard.
Let's see.
Job's done.
Yeah, I just don't know. But I would prefer to watch a sci-fi movie than a sci-fi TV series. Because even starting a new sci-fi TV series, it's in the back of my head. We know this is going to get canceled. We know we are dooming ourselves. I don't know why all these people are quitting. I mean, are we winning that so soundly that we're just... I'm not even paying attention to the games. How am I... Why... 2 surrenders in a row. What's the deal? But... we have 200 gold at this point, which I think is enough to buy another pack. Yeah. We're gonna get 50 more as soon as we get this next victory. But yeah, watching a movie, you know you're gonna get the end of the movie. You hope you're gonna get the end of the movie at least.
Let the hunt
I mean,
begin.
I'd ask for my money back if the movie did not clearly say part 1 and then it said to be continued. But I guess Star Wars kind of did that, didn't they? But when Star Wars originally came out, it was not called Star Wars Episode 4. It was called Star Wars A New Hope, and that was it. And then he put in the Episode 4 at the second release, and then he came out with 5 and 6, and then... So I guess people didn't feel too cheated. Also, Star Wars movies, to my best of my recollection, really do kind of wrap up at the end. So it's not like there's tons of stuff left hanging. Also, in the old days, it was perfectly acceptable to do a to be continued question mark. I don't think that it was really, should have been acceptable back then, and I don't think it should be acceptable now to do to be continued question mark type stuff. Every movie should stand on its own. So if we can get this third person to surrender, then we'll be done, which would be fine. I'm gonna have to go back to the footage and see what was going on that those two just decided to quit. Maybe I was really close to defeating them and they just saw that. I don't know. But yeah. My love of sci-fi. Let's see, what do I love besides sci-fi shows? I love a good wire fu kung fu show. Movie, usually. Pretty good. I love horrors. I love mysteries. If of certain sorts. A lot of mysteries I don't love. But if it's a intriguing mystery, something that I'm really interested in trying to figure out what happened, that can grab my attention. It'd probably be easier just to make a list of all the things I don't like. I love crazy movies. If you can just think of a ridiculously insane movie, I'll probably watch it at least once just to say I've seen it, and I've seen some really wild things. I love to see the best of what other countries can make. If it's subtitled, or I can follow along with it not being subtitled, I'm fine with that. In theory, I love Miyazaki films. In practicality, I don't bother to go and sit through them, even though I have many on Blu-ray. But you know, I'm kind of holding off for young relatives when they become the right age, and if their parents want to allow me to sit and watch a Miyazaki film that's appropriate for their age, then I figure we'll watch it together. I loved Frozen. Now, of course, as a single person with no kids, I did not go to the theater and see Frozen. I was lent the DVD and I watched it that way, but I loved it. I loved the concept, and I loved the way it went through. I loved the Lego Movie. I bought that on Blu-ray. the story, on the Lego movie, the thought that you can build anything and you're not stuck to instructions is really counteracted when they started selling the Lego movie branded Lego sets to build the things that were specifically in the movie. You're really defeating what the message was there. But whatever, they're just trying to make money. I did not see what they were gonna do with the Lego movie as that story. Not for a second did I see the twist coming. And there is a pretty big twist. I'm like, wow. I did not see that happening at all. I thought it was just gonna be one thing and it turned out to be something pretty different. Which was surprising and interesting. I love the new remake of Dread. I want to see a Dread 2. I mean, I want to see him do a whole series on that, in that world. That was pretty cool. That was pretty action filled. What are some other movies I've seen recently? For as much as I watch movies, remembering a lot of them is a problem. A lot of movies on Netflix in particular, I'll start and then I'll just fast forward 5 minutes and then I'll just fast forward another 5 minutes. And once I've lost interest in watching it, it's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna fast forward and get little glimpse, like one frame every 5 minutes to see the general concept of what's gonna happen. See if there's anything visually appealing in this. So I guess I'm a very visual person if I'm just looking for the visually appealing thing. But also, if Netflix could play the audio back at a faster playback, I would love that too. That's the one thing I like about my Blu-ray player is that at the very least I can do 1.5 speed and have the audio playback, and that is super useful when you are listening to audio commentaries of such things. Yes, I did buy the entire collection of the Twilight Zone, and boy does it have lots of audio commentaries. Now, sadly, none of them are of Rod Serling. Well, I saw that time that they were going to lose, so they gave up. But because they made the Blu-rays after Rod Serling died, so you get a lot of commentary of writers you've never heard of who don't remember writing the thing because it was so long ago they interviewed them like decades later. And I'm like, what are you gonna get from that? But there are some cool things, and the Twilight Zone looks awesome, completely awesome on Blu-ray because they could go back to the film and rescan the film. And so those really old film-based TV shows, if it was a film-based TV show, and so recorded the film, look great on Blu-ray. They look better than you've ever seen them. Black and white doesn't matter. A lot of old black and white shows you had all this data, like the number of bits going just to the black and white, so you got much better quality doing that. Once they transitioned from black and white to color, they actually had to squish all the colors data into the same space. So actually, early color TV looks way worse than black and white technology. And so, yeah, Twilight Zone is great. Getting it on Blu-ray let me see a lot of episodes, particularly in the last season where Rod Serling wasn't involved. Those just never get played on that annual marathon on Sci-Fi. They just don't. So there's the very last episode was messed up pretty badly, and it never gets played on TV. I'd never even seen it. Most of them I had seen. Most of them had commentaries and were worth watching again. So I wouldn't know if I really would want to go get the new Twilight Zone or anything like that. It's things I've never seen before, but maybe. But I sure love the Blu-ray of the Twilight Zone. And I'm gonna leave the conversation on things I've watched. I've certainly watched a lot of other things, but I'm not gonna really remember them at the moment. So we got 5 dust for 1 card, and then we have a golden. Let's find that one. I have worn out my voice. I talking so much. So we have Holy Fire here. That's not the one. We have 2 of those though. We have a Loot Hoarder. Come on, one more card. Let's find this golden common card. Here we go. So, Silver Hand Knight. We already have 2 silver things, so we can disenchant it for 50. Nice. So we can probably craft something. We're looking for a common classic. 40, why not? So now we have Fin Creeper. See if we can build anything else. I don't think we can. Faster, faster. No. Alright, so that's why we're getting rid of dust, the golden versions. It's getting us dust to get other things. We have 160 gold, and we've already purchased our arena run for 3 days from now. And we did overtime. I probably will try so that we do not end up with 5 victories for 2 different things. That was a little bit much. Let's see. Still a lot of grinding to do to get these guys up to level 60. I am going to pretty much consistently, as I'm uploading things, be playing characters and just getting everyone as evenly as possible up to 60, like the mage. And when we get everything up to 60, then we just need to work on those wins, win 500 versions. So in between recording days, you will probably see the ranks change. You will see people get leveled up. You'll see me get more wins. You'll see me get more gold. But it's just grindy stuff. It's just gonna be me playing. I'm gonna stay away from doing quests. Quests are what you're coming for. So I am editing myself a little bit now, at least in the gameplay of Hearthstone. Thanks for listening to me ramble, and I hope you enjoyed all of that talk of sci-fi shows, science fiction shows, not just shows on the Sci-Fi channel. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. As always, like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of the video. All of that helps. Have a good evening.